The internet is turning into a digital mausoleum. It's becoming increasingly populated by the dead. As our digital footprints outlast human lifespans, social media platforms have become the largest cemeteries in human history. Something's happening that's unsettling the internet. The explosion of Instagram accounts for the dead. These accounts have a chilling look. A casual user scrolling through the platform might stumble upon an account with almost no followers, containing hundreds of highly specific posts. The biography often has a dove or some dates or some sort of cryptic phrase. The individuals being mourned aren't in public records. They don't have corresponding digital footprints, and they're mourned by accounts that refuse to engage with the outside world. What is behind these creepy Instagram accounts? These accounts involve cybercrimes and social media platform exploitation. And they succeed because of the evolution of human grief in an era where we exist forever on the internet. People haven't paid much attention to social media accounts for the dead until fairly recently. Usually the biggest surprise was when they suddenly returned from the dead, when a dead person's account would be compromised and would start spewing spam or trolling messages to the horror of their loved ones. However, in April 2020, Instagram rolled out a feature intended to provide solace to grieving families, the account Memorialization Tool. The feature was designed to freeze an account in time. Once an account was memorialized, no one could log into it, no new content could be added, and past posts could not be altered or commented upon. The word remembering is put next to the user's name, turning an active profile into a digital monument. These accounts were also scrubbed from public spaces like the Explore page to respect the privacy of the dead and prevent the algorithmic exploitation of their memory. If an account is not officially memorialized or deleted by family members possessing a death certificate, it just exists forever, suspended in the digital ether. However, any system with verification vulnerabilities will eventually be exploited by malicious actors. The vulnerability in Instagram's memorialization was that it had an exceptionally easy way to declare a user dead. The platform would merely require a link to an obituary or news article. We live in an era where digital text can be fabricated in seconds, so this was a very easy exploit. The ease with which an account could be frozen gave birth to an illegal underground economy known as banning as a service. Malicious actors realized that they could weaponize the memorialization feature to silence critics, or get revenge, or even go after prominent figures. The most high-profile victim of this exploit was Adam Mosseri, who was the head of Instagram. In September 2021, an attacker successfully tricked Instagram staff into memorializing Mosseri's account by submitting a fabricated online obituary. Of course, Mosseri's access was restored quickly because he was an executive there and had direct access to the engineers. But regular users don't find themselves so lucky. They can find themselves permanently locked out of their own lives, buried alive by an algorithmic error. And people using this exploit profited. For example, a user is prominent in this community named OBN, who was allegedly an individual who was 20 years old named Edwin Reyes Martinez, was a central figure in this spamming community. The term OBN stood for Only Bands, a reference to stacks of money. What began as teenagers playing PlayStation together online evolved into a highly organized racket. OBN earned money by selling how-to scamming guides, teaching others how to exploit the memorialization loophole. And these tactics were very profitable. Some people would only charge small fees to execute this ban, while others did dual-sided extortion rackets, charging victims up to $4,000 to reverse the ban that they had initiated. To bypass Instagram's review process, the scammers needed obituaries. The verification process was flawed. According to a scammer known as Siren Rye, if a target was unverified and possessed fewer than 1 million followers, 1 million, think about that. You probably don't have 1 million followers. Instagram's support team would barely even look at the documentation. All they needed was something that was close in time. As long as the obituary was recent, published within maybe the same week, the ban succeeded nearly 98% of the time, usually processing within 2 days. So this required another type of scam industry, the creation of fake obituaries. Scammers didn't always target specific known people. Often they would grab a recent, genuine online obituary of a stranger who happened to share the same name as their target, using the tragedy of an unknown individual to execute this digital assassination. When someone with the same name couldn't be found, Automation filled the void. The internet has seen a vast influx of fake news sites and bizarre YouTube channels dedicated to publishing obituaries for random, sometimes entirely fabricated people. Many of these unknowns are collateral damage of a ban attack or the staging ground for one. Private accounts are routinely established by scammers as burner profiles. These profiles are used to generate a necessary digital footprint and post fabricated stories of mourning so they can cross-reference to fake obituaries before launching a memorialization strike against a primary target. And there's a psychological toll to this content farm. In some cases, grieving families discovered multiple AI-generated obituaries filled with fabricated details about their real deceased loved ones, hosted on websites that bounce all contacted emails. In other cases, random individuals stumbled upon their own names in search results attached to disturbing fake memorial websites, despite, being alive. While some malicious actors used digital death to ban enemies, others used it to farm financial assets. The emergence of private funeral accounts is heavily tied to the grim practice of funerary phishing, exploiting the vulnerability of grieving communities for money. During the pandemic, physical attendance at funerals was restricted, leading to a massive surge in funeral live streaming as families attempted to mourn together from afar. Cybercriminals immediately identified this as a place to scam and make money. Scammers would create fake Facebook and Instagram profiles dedicated to recently deceased individuals. These malicious actors would rip photos directly from the deceased actual social media accounts to build a highly convincing replica. Then, they would send friend requests or direct messages to the deceased network offering a link to an exclusive live stream of the funeral. When a grieving friend or family member clicks the link, they're directed to a spoof landing page. This page required them to enter credit card information or highly sensitive personal details to verify their identity, or to make a mandatory donation in order to view the broadcast. By keeping these fake Instagram accounts private, scammers ensured that they could not be easily monitored by the platform, or called out by other users, or flagged by the broader community. The privacy setting was a cloak, allowing the scammer to selectively target vulnerable individuals hidden within the victim's social web without triggering mass alerts. These digital ghost scams extended far beyond the immediate aftermath of a funeral, turning into long-term identity theft. There have been multiple cases where scammers create Instagram accounts mimicking a user's deceased relative, maybe a grandmother or an older family member who passed away. These accounts would again use stolen photos to create a look of authenticity. Weeks or months after the individual's death, the family begins receiving direct messages from the deceased. When a individual stumbles upon these accounts, it appears as a bizarre private shrine to some unknown individual, when in reality, it's a digital Trojan horse waiting to be deployed against a grieving family. A significant portion of these unknown individuals being mourned on private Instagram accounts aren't even human, but bots and large language models interacting with one another in a closed loop. Meta, which is the parent company of Instagram, has publicly unveiled plans to stock its platforms with fake AI users. According to Meta's vice president of product for generative AI, Connor Hayes, these artificial accounts possess their own biographies, generate independent content, and interact with human users on a massive scale. The goal is to create a hyper-engaged environment, but it also blurs digital reality. If the internet is increasingly populated by these synthetic identities, it makes sense that these identities must eventually die or be retired. And these private funeral accounts, mourning unknowns, could possibly be the literal resting places of retired AI personas. To evade bot detection algorithms and platform purges, malicious bot networks must make their fake accounts appear as human as possible. This process is called credibility laundering, and it involves programming bots to simulate complex human behaviors, emotions, and life events before deploying them for advertising or political manipulation or scams. And grief is one of the most profoundly human experiences. By programming a bot to operate a funeral account or dedicating a portion of an AI's timeline to mourning a fictional companion, the bot network creates a robust, highly convincing backstory. The comment sections of these accounts are often filled with generic condolences. The exact type of thing that you would expect from ChatGPT trying to simulate empathy. So when you find a private Instagram account with 650 posts and a relentless focus on mourning some unknown individual, you're likely seeing an incubation chamber. The deceased is a fabricated prompt, a fictional anchor used to legitimize the bot's existence. And once the account achieves acceptable trust score from Instagram security algorithms, the privacy settings will be lifted, the funeral content may be archived or deleted, and the account will be weaponized for commercial or malicious purposes. Not all of these private mourning accounts are the product of cybercrime or algorithmic generation. A vast number are created by living, breathing human beings grappling with the complexities of digital era grief. This dynamic is extended to cases of missing persons. When an individual vanishes without a trace, the family is plunged into a state of ambiguous loss. The term ambiguous loss is recognized by psychologists as the most psychologically agonizing form of grief, as it prevents any form of traditional closure. The loved one is physically absent, but psychologically and, in some cases, digitally present. This freezing of grief was experienced recently by the family of Savannah Guthrie, whose mother Nancy went missing. Ambiguous loss is massive on social media. Friends and family members often create private accounts or specific hashtags to document their ongoing search for their loved one. This articulates their frozen griefs and communicates into the void. When a missing person's case runs cold, the dedicated Instagram accounts often go private, serving as a sealed time capsule for the family. The individual being mourned remains unknown to the general public, existing in a liminal space between life and death. There's not an easy explanation to these private Instagram funeral accounts. It can involve cybercriminal activity, and it also involves human psychological behavior. There are the synthetic mourners, the bots that exist just to launder credibility. And then there's the intimate sanctuary of grief, which are profoundly painfully human. As we continue to migrate our physical rituals, memories, and identities into digital spaces, the internet graveyard will only continue to expand, and we'll be forced to confront them, no matter how uncomfortable that is. It will become a part of our digital identity. These locked digital mausoleums are a stark reminder of our modern reality. On the internet, nothing truly dies. Please subscribe to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Please like and share this video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a member of the channel. I appreciate you considering this. You can also support me by just continuing to watch my videos, and I do appreciate you watching my videos. And please stay spooky.